Hello there and welcome back. I just thought I'd bring you along for a ride today and talk about something that I consider to be very, very important. Something that every one of us should be doing with new arrivals, and that's quarantining new birds. How do you quarantine new birds? Why should you quarantine them? And what's the best approach? So the reason why we quarantine birds is pretty obvious, and that's to stop the spread of new diseases or old diseases, viruses, the usual, and to monitor the bird's health on your new arrival. So you need to be able to monitor whether that they're in good condition and they're healthy enough to be introduced to your flock. So what is quarantine? Quarantine is 28 days minimum, but ideally longer if possible. So what you need to do is, or what I do, this is what I do when quarantining pigeons. So any new pigeons that I get, which isn't very often, but we all do get pigeons, but this also covers birds that's been out on to shows, that's been out on loan. This covers birds that would be, if you're a racing pigeon man, that's racing pigeons. This would also be something that I would be implementing as well. So what I would do is you need to set up an area with show pen cages, ideally 18 inches for my breed, but you'll get away with 12 inches with most breeds. But 18 inches gives you room to let that pigeon have a bit of movement, because it's going to be in there a month. So put some show cages up in a shed out the way that has no contact with no other birds. Spray all the cages down and all the area, spray it down with D10 or Vercon S or some other good disinfectant. Even domestic bleach would do the trick. It kills anything, that would kill everything that you know of. So after that is I'd put some paper in. Now that could be newspaper, could be plain white paper, could be corrugated cardboard, anything along them lines. You can just put shavings down, but I like to put them on paper. And the reason for that is so you can see the droppings and monitor the droppings more clearly, as if it was mixed up with shavings. So then birds that go into quarantine, what happened with me is ideally you would take dropping samples for them. They would be sent away for analysed, and while you were waiting for them to come back, I would ivermec everything. The birds would be vaccinated, even if they've come from a loft where the guy says, oh yeah, I've vaccinated my pigeons, vaccinate them again. Then you know you have vaccinated them pigeons, you know they've been vaccinated. Then when your dropping samples come back, I'd medicate accordingly. Now if you don't want to send off for dropping samples, that's fine. We don't all do that, and it's not always an ideal situation or an ideal world. That's just ideal world. Then what I would do is I would treat them for canker, I would treat them for coccidiosis, vaccination, which we've covered, and if the droppings were fine and you were quite happy with the droppings, they were healthy looking droppings, which we've talked about before, then I would just probably leave them to complete the 30 days of quarantine. If I wasn't very happy with the droppings, then I'd probably give a 7 to 10 day course of antibiotics, just in case they had salmonella or paratyphoid, anything along them lines, ecoli, lots of them. Then after the 30 days, the birds can be introduced into your loft if you're happy enough with that, but ideally I still wouldn't do that. Some diseases incubate a bit longer and you might miss something, so in the ideal world you would take them pigeons and you'd breed up them in a different section and then use the youngsters to introduce into your flock. When you've got these birds in quarantine, they must be the last birds you look at every day, not the first bird. So you wouldn't go to your quarantine birds, feed and water them, check them over, make sure everything's alright, and then go and do all your other birds. You need to feed all your other stock first. Then after you fed all your other stock, then what you need to do is you need to take your birds and put them birds into the last thing you do on the quarantine. I'm just slowing down a little bit there. Speed camera vans on the A19 again, and they've had us before in the past, but I don't fancy them getting us again. So that's what you would do. So you would quarantine the birds for 28 days, monitor their health, and then take it from there. So if the birds that you've been to a show with, obviously they're in your loft beforehand, you can put them back in your loft. If the birds that were new introductions from some other breeder, regardless of who it is, then play it by ear. So ideally you could move them into your loft, you could pair them onto different birds in a different area and breed off them and do that. Things that you should never ever do when introducing new pigeons, and I see this a lot, and especially lately on Facebook, there's quite a few new guys who's into pigeons, and it's great to do it. Buy some new pigeons, we all love new pigeons, bringing them into the lofts from all over the place. That's a big no-no. It's something you should never ever do. Like, you should never buy pigeons willy-nilly from different sources, mix them all together and bring them into your loft and put them in. That's just a time, it's a bomb waiting to go off. Like, because you will, and it happens every time, it always will. You'll never ever escape this. You bring pigeons in from multiple sources of people that you don't know, and you don't know how them birds were kept, and you're getting curious to pick them up and drop them off at your door and that, you will end up with trouble. Like, you will get young bird sickness, you will get salmonella, you will get ecoli, you will possibly could get paramoxovirus, you will get big trouble. And I know that because it's happened to me before. I was a bit lapsed a few years back, well, about 6 or 7 years back. I was a bit lapsed, and I went to a show and I brought some birds back from the show, and I ended up losing 3/4 of my birds. It knocked us back 15 years. It's something I did and I would never ever do again. I would never ever, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter who the breeder is, it could be the best breeder in the world, I would never get pigeons and introduce them to my own flock of pigeons. They will always be quarantined, out the way, and sometimes never introduced to the flock. They would be maybe bred off the youngsters from them, and I would introduce the youngsters. If I brought new birds in, I'd breed off them, and then them birds would probably be gone. I would never. Some things to watch out for in quarantine. If at any time throughout this quarantine period, if the birds look sick, and they look seriously sick, like you're getting salmonella or E. coli or worse, you're getting paramoxovirus, dispose of the birds immediately. Do not wait, because waiting is the wrong thing to do. Tackle it head on. So any problems, deal with it straight away. Right, I just thought I'd cover this, because like I say, it is something, quarantine and new arrivals and new pigeons is something that you see some do and you see other people that don't do. Now this doesn't just cover pigeons, this covers any kind of birds whatsoever. It doesn't matter if the parrots, cockatoos, finches, British birds, pigeons, canaries, whatever, it does not matter. If you bring new birds in, it doesn't matter from who you buy them from. He could be the best breeder or the worst breeder, treat them all the same. Quarantine them, quarantine them, quarantine them. Don't think just because the guy's a top breeder that he hasn't got mite. Or don't think that he's a top breeder and he hasn't got problems with his flock, with coccidiosis or E. coli or something like that, because generally they have. So I just thought I'd cover this, and like I say, for those that stuck around to the end, it's something that we all should take a little bit more seriously than we actually do. I hope you've picked something up and learned something from this. If not, well, we can always expand on it and get another topic going and talk about something else. Because like I say, these videos are to help everybody and to help myself as well, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how long you've kept pigeons, who you are, you want to be trying to be better yourself, not just better others, but better yourself. So what you did good yesterday, you need to do better tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for taking time to stay around till the end, and if you like these videos, please like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever ticks your fancy. I mean, I've got 160 odd videos that if you're a bit bored and you want to spend a bit of time, you can look and watch them and that. But bear in mind, you know, for people who don't know, is something I will tell people. I mean, I'm 53-year-old and I've had pigeons for 45 years, so I'm not a dodo, I'm no dummy. I didn't just get off the boat yesterday. Like, I do pretty much know what I talk about. Like, anyway, until next time, take care and see you again. Bye.